are requested to direct their written requests to the Chief Elections Officer, and their requests are formally acknowledged and are advised to approach the relevant department, which in turn will inform them of the date of collection. The other allegation has to do with the use of CIO for accreditation of voter registration. The Commission has also taken note of the allegation of social media that is using CIO personnel for purposes of accrediting observers for the forthcoming by-elections and the voter registration exercise currently underway. It is further alleged that this conduct is unconstitutional and unlawful, presumably in terms of Section 239 of the Constitution. The Commission wishes to advise all its stakeholders to seek clarification first on issues that they are not clear about, to avoid publishing falsehoods which may mislead the electorate. The correct position of the law is that Section 239J of the Constitution of Zimbabwe gives the Commission broad powers to instruct any person in the employment of the state or of a local authority for purpose of ensuring the efficient, free, fair, proper and transparent conduct of any election or referendum. So in essence, it would only be unlawful if an employee of the state would engage in commission duties without being instructed by it. What is important is for the Commission to remain in charge through giving instructions to an employee of the state and not for it to be instructed. The Constitution does not discriminate against any particular ministry or department. All people who are recruited by the Commission work under its instructions, and the Commission guards its independence jealously. There is therefore nothing amiss, as the Constitution allows the Commission to give instructions to any person in the employment of the state. The other allegation has to do with polling stations. The Commission also wishes to clear the air on allegations made regarding the creation of additional polling stations. For the record, Section 22A of the Electoral Act gives power to the Commission to establish additional polling stations to serve a polling station area in cases where the threshold of voters exceeds the number set by the Commission is manageable for administration purposes. For instance, the current maximum threshold for voter per polling station is 1,000. There are situations or areas where voters at a particular polling station exceed this set threshold, and the law empowers the Commission to create other polling points within the same polling station for ease of administering the vote. For instance, if voters who vote at Chiraza Primary School, which is designated as the polling station for Chiraza polling area, for polling area is 2,100 voters. The Commission can prepare 3 voters' roll of 700 voters each and establish 3 polling stations at Chiraza School for ease of administering the poll. The Commission consults and educates the affected for them not to be inconvenienced on the day of poll. Further, Section 51 of the same Act, the Electoral Act, grants the Commission the prerogative to determine the number of polling stations it considers necessary for polling purposes, though it can receive representations from stakeholders. Again, we want to advise the electorate that there's some information that is going on the social media about the use of a USSD code. Again, that is another falsehood. The electorate is being advised to please disregard the 111 hash message circulating on social media, purporting to be the voters' roll inspection USSD code. The message has nothing to do with the inspection of the voters' roll. For registration status, people use the BVR. People can use our BVR inspection link or portal on the ZEC website, which is bvrinspection.zec.org.zw. I repeat, bvrinspection.zec.org.zw. Then we go again on the issue of the voters' roll. Each year leading to an election, the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission encounters various allegations that have to do with the voters' roll. Again, it has been observed that once that has started, false and misleading allegations will be carried into the election year as a fallback position. These allegations are always made through the media and no proper clarification is sought from the Commission. In essence, there is always an attempt to drag the Commission to engage in a public wrangle with the electorate over issues concerning its mandate. The Commission has established and publicized stakeholder platforms where it freely addresses stakeholders' concerns in an amicable fashion and without exposing the public to grandstanding. Therefore, genuine stakeholders do not make noise in the media, but do know where to take their issues. I go on again on alleged voter rigging. Time and again, the Commission has been accused by certain quarters of rigging elections in this country in favor of a political party or candidates. Over time, most people have come to accept this assertion as fact without interrogating the extent of these claims. For the record, the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission is a creature of statute whose members are appointed in terms of procedures outlined in the Constitution of Zimbabwe. Further, its mandate is provided in the same Constitution and the electoral law of the country. ZEC is very much aware of the requirements of operating within the confines of the law and to the consequence of failure to adhere to them. The Commission is a member of the regional international bodies that perform the same functions as it, and which organizations require adherence to set standards. ZEC over the years religiously followed these standards, including the SADC guidelines and principles governing the conduct of elections, to the extent of entrenching them in the law. Thus, can actually boast that it is one of those institutions that has made significant progress in applying same. The high level of suspicion and the toxic nature of the political environment in this country require constant review of electoral processes to address perceived shortcomings. As a society, we are aware that Parliament has the responsibility to deal with any electoral reforms. The Commission's role is to make recommendations, but many a times ZEC is demanded to make electoral reforms. It is the role of each and every Zimbabwean to approach Parliament if there are any reforms that we feel we need. Be that as it may, the Commission knows that despite these efforts it has made or is making to improve the electoral process, some stakeholders have clearly taken a vow to ensure that the electorate is blinded to any progress that is being made to invest in an endeavor to soil all the work that is being done by the Commission. ZEC constantly meets all stakeholders and advise them of progress being made sometimes. They arise allegations in the media without first seeking clarification from the Commission. We appeal to all our stakeholders to approach ZEC, to speak to us and not talk about us. We need to work together as Zimbabweans to come to an understanding and to forge the way forward as one. It is not good to weigh down the Commission by constantly instituting litigation against it, which in many cases is found to be baseless allegations, simply as a means to bring its name into disrepute. However, the Commission is also alive to the fact that it is every citizen's right to take the Commission to court on any matter they feel aggrieved with. The Commission has an open door policy and urges its stakeholders to come to talk about electoral issues. Time and again, some stakeholders have abused the electorate by churning misinformation to them that the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission ZEC rigs election in this country. Some citizens have gullibly accepted the allegation as fact without challenging those who make them. The Commission has now come to the conclusion that there are some stakeholders who have resolved to adopt a strategy of soiling its credibility to account for their electoral loss and losses to the electorate. In the past, some have openly confessed to the Commission that they cannot always tell their constituents the truth for fear of losing their support. Thus, they have to find a scapegoat, and the scapegoat is the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission. In a match of football, the referee is always the scapegoat. As a referee, we accept that fact. Further, the Commission has always told its stakeholders that their false allegations for vote rigging contribute to voter apathy and to loss of confidence in the electoral process that the processes by the electorate. The Zimbabwe Electoral Commission is glad to note that some have since seen the light and are now encouraging their supporters to participate in electoral processes run by the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission. Ironically, the same institution they allege to be responsible for stealing their votes. The Commission wishes to reiterate to all well-meaning Zimbabweans that the systems used in conducting elections are world-class, and there is no room for tampering with their votes. To those who know elections, the polling station-based voting system and use of biometric technology such as the automated fingerprint identification system, the AFIS, cannot be flattered, as they are specifically designed to guard against any form of vote rigging. The systems the Commission use are the same as what is used in organizations such as banks and other EMBs in the region and the world over. I challenge all Zimbabwean citizens to, the next time they come across persons alleging that there is vote rigging in Zimbabwe, to invoke the legal maximum, he who alleges must prove. If surely there is vote rigging in Zimbabwe, someone must be able to prove it. At least that person should be able to trace the incident of vote rigging and link it to a particular location, polling station, or a collation center and be able to tell the time the incident occurred. Further, that person must be able to prove how many votes have been stolen or miscounted, and who has been prejudiced, among other things. It is high time Zimbabweans should refuse to be abused and to disabuse themselves of thinking that elections are rigged in this country. That is a myth and a fallacy, and the Commission challenges anyone to prove it otherwise. All the allegations that have been made against the Commission on vote rigging are mere bare allegations, not supported by facts, nor figures, nor location, nor names of persons prejudiced. Even where courts are roped in to establish any wrongfulness, on its part, the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission is absolved. False political narratives continue to be generated simply to satisfy the ego of its detractors. The allegations are mere political statements meant to hoodwink voters for the selfish gain of politicians who believe only a result in their favor should come out of the ballot. This is despite the fact that there are always accredited observers and party agents present in polling stations and collation centers to observe electoral process. So the next time when you have a person alleging vote rigging by the Commission, ask them where, which candidate, how many votes, and how did that happen. The Commission assures you that you will not get an answer to these questions. I thank you.
It's done. If there are any questions.
Thank you. My name is Blessed Mhlanga from Heart and Soul TV and Radio. Now, acting CEO, do you have accused everyone, stakeholders and people who are peddling falsehoods of trying to tarnish the image of the Commission. What responsibility do you take as ZEC for not making sure that people trust the Electoral Act? What is your responsibility? Because it is, in my view, your responsibility to make sure that electoral processes are trusted. Second thing is, there are specific issues that have been raised, Madam CEO. Specific addresses where, for instance, number 1, Harare Drive in Kweku, there is no house there. But on your voters' roll, there are people who are registered there, who stay there, and who are supposed to vote using that address. There are people, a couple in Glenville, staying at the same house, but allocated different polling stations. Now, you have not addressed specifically those specific issues on the voters' roll. So can you please explain why you would allocate different polling stations? People staying in the same house, but voting in different wards. Does the ward line cross through their bedroom or something? We want to have an understanding. And the last question, Madam, is, for instance, when there was a rally in April, there were no conditions by the police of not busing people from other constituencies. When there is a rally at Zimbabwe grounds by another political party, police issue those stringent conditions, and ZEC remains quiet. Are you not complicit? Thank you.
Thank you for the questions. I'll start with the last question. And my colleagues will also chip in. You are alleging that ZEC should do something about political parties when they have rallies. But like we have said, there are laws in this country which we should follow. When these political parties have rallies, they are supposed to go to the police to seek permission to have those rallies. So you also want ZEC to speak on behalf of the police. My colleagues will also assist in that regard. And then the second allegation that we have put to ZEC is that people in Glenview are in the same house voting in the different polling stations. Like I've read in this press statement, they are people from the same polling station who can vote in different classes because, like I alluded, the polling station has got thresholds. So surely they will vote in different classrooms while they are coming from the same house, because we have divided that voters roll into the different classrooms that we talked about, so that they are able to vote quickly, and then they can go back home to do their respective duties. My colleagues can chip in the other ones.
Thank you so much, Madam Chief. But maybe let me also first address the issue of the rally at Ekwe. We as the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, we have dispute or conflict management mechanisms. One of which is multi-party liaison committees. So if a party is aggrieved by a certain action, we expect that such are the issues that come up at our multi-party liaison committees, and they are resolved there amicably. But when a complaint is not made to the Commission, surely the Commission cannot be expected to know what is happening. And as the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, I don't think we have had a complaint regarding that issue, or a complaint has been lodged formally. We haven't seen any party that has lodged that formally. Secondly, I want to address the issue of certain issues that are being raised. As Blessing says, there are specific issues that are being raised in the voters' roll. At the moment, the Commission is still making investigations as to how certain voters' roll that is being alleged to have certain information that has been splashed all over the social media. But the Commission is still looking at the circumstances under which that voters' roll came to be in that, because some of the allegations that are being raised, surely I think the Commission wants to investigate those. And Blessing also talked about what the Commission is doing regarding maybe dispelling some misperceptions, as I can say. The Commission does have a stakeholder platform that it has established to deal with its effect, where it interacts with its stakeholders. So we expect that we share information there, and that is one of our ways that we deal with our stakeholders' concerns. And we also have voter education. Right now we have voter educators who are on the ground. We try as much as possible as ZEC to churn out the correct information. That is a way of maybe how we can deal with problems that are arising. But be that as it may, you know, social media is also one of the tools that is proved to be a very difficult one to deal. If a falsehood is scheduled right now, it's not easy for the Commission to really respond there and there, or sometimes you learn of things, and by the time you try to respond, that issue has already been splashed across the country. And when you respond, you have a challenge that people have already taken a certain side, but we tried very much. We are also now very much on the social media side. I think maybe my colleagues can also take on this.
I can respond to the allegation on the voters law about the paper issue, where it's alleged that there is a non-existent relevant drive location. The section of the Electoral Act, section 28, allows for any voter actually to raise an objection in terms of such issues. The Act, section 28 says a voter may object to the retention of any name on the voter's roll. So there is a procedure for doing that. So if that procedure has not been taken to the Commission for us to be aware, such errors may remain in the voter's roll because the proper procedures are not being followed to be able to assist the Commission to have those issues raised. I would say that is the answer to that one. Even the Glenview issue, if there is a real concern there, those issues can be objected to through the section that I've mentioned, section 28 of the Electoral Act. There are objection forms to that, and communication can be written to the voter by the Commission to say there's this objection about your status. What are the circumstances? Then the person is obliged to respond. Then corrective action can be taken. Thank you.
And to answer the first question now, what is ZEC's responsibility? ZEC has got a lot of responsibilities as it pertains to the running of elections. It is responsible for registering voters, like we are doing at the moment. We have a blitz that is going on so that we can reach the voters. ZEC is also responsible for carrying out the proper elections, the general elections and the by-elections, and at the moment is preparing for the forthcoming by-elections which are going to be held on the 26th of March. ZEC is also responsible for media monitoring. It's responsible for preparing the ballot papers. It is also responsible for delimitation, and it's one of those aspects that we have to do specifically this year, following after the census, which is ongoing. And ZEC is also responsible for multi-party liaison committees, where we are supposed to meet with our stakeholders when we have elections, and the political parties that are involved come together and look at the issues that they have, like the ones that Blessing has raised. We are hoping that the political parties concerned will also raise them in the multi-party liaison committee, where they are supposed to discuss those issues and resolve them as political parties and players, and they're supposed to come to a consensus, so the law says. ZEC is also responsible for training and voter education, in which voter education we carry out together with CSOs and faith-based organizations. Those are some, among others, of the responsibilities of the Commission. The other responsibility, of course, is accreditation of you as the media personnel. We hope you have applied so that you can also come and see what really transpires in the polling stations, since we are going to have by-elections, so that you can also see it for yourselves what goes on in the polling stations. And then you also report on the things that you have seen and you have observed. We hope you are going to put your application so that you are also able to come and observe the forthcoming elections and the voter registration exercise that is going on. Thank you. Any other issues?
Yes.
My name is John Kasim. I'm a journalist of Channel Africa. You asked us to disregard the 111 platform. I'm not so sure why, maybe we'll explain later. Because as citizens of Zimbabwe, the same platform that have been presented to citizens, they've actually shown true information in the 2018 elections. I actually checked my position there and it was factual. In my position currently, I checked with 111. I used to stay in Masasapaki. I'm now staying in Kwata. Now I'm disclosing information that I was not supposed to. But for clarity, I'm having to mention this. That when I checked, I voted in 2018 in Kwata. Now, if you check on 111, I'm now back in Masasapaki. I could not understand. Of which, if that is not rectified, it means in the by-elections in Kwata, I will not be able to vote. And I'm not the only person. There are so many people in Zimbabwe who are complaining about that fact, that names have been moved from the current polling stations and constituencies into other constituencies that either they've never belonged to or they previously belonged to. And on the issue of, so I'm seeking clarification from you that how come such names are being moved that way? If you are saying we should disregard, which one are we supposed to follow? The second question is on the issue of accountability and truthfulness on the part of ZEC, and why people seem not to be able to trust ZEC. I think you know the issue of Nguna issue in Chepus, where he lost the elections. ZEC admitted he lost the elections, but Nguna ended up in parliament. The matter was referred to court, and it was still confirmed he lost the election, but still ZEC did not do anything to make sure that he was removed from being an MP because the mandate was with ZEC. But at the end of the day, Zimbabweans ended up taking their position that ZEC cannot be trusted. How do you explain to Zimbabweans that the irregularities that are taking place right now being exposed are false and ZEC is right?
Okay. Like I said earlier on, this is not our platform. So I cannot account for a platform which is not ours. That's why we gave you the ZEC platform. Then on the issue that you are talking about, I wouldn't know. We would have to look at the, ask the owners of that platform to answer to the question that you are asking. I've given you the ZEC platform where you are supposed to check your details, which is the correct platform. And then on the issue of whether you said you are supposed to be in Kwata. There are a lot of issues that we should educate ourselves when we have an election. We should be aware that when we have by-elections for councillors, the vacant occurs when the person dies, or when the person resigns, or when the person is recalled by their political party. So I don't know when you transfer, it's an issue of now looking at the date that you transfer. So that's why we are employing on our voters to come to ZEC so that we can look at your issues on a one-to-one basis, because if it's generalized like we are generalizing here, it will appear like we are being defensive. But the law says we only print the voters' roll for the by-election for a local authority when the vacancy occurs. And then for the National Assembly, we close 2 days after the nomination court. So we would also have to ask you when you transferred, so that we are able to correctly answer your question. I'll also give my colleagues to chip in, even on the issue of the Chegutu issue.
Thank you so much. Maybe starting with the 111 platform, the short and long of it is that it is not a ZEC platform. So ZEC cannot take responsibility for a platform that it does not own. That's the long and short of it. The fact that you found some of the information correct does not guarantee that all the information that is there is correct. So platform 111 is not a ZEC platform. So we encourage you to use ZEC platforms and also query issues that are in the ZEC database or any information base that we have. Then on the accountability issue, I think it is also important for you as journalists to know the procedures that are followed, especially where candidates are grieved by an electoral process, I can say. Once ZEC announces elections, it becomes what we call functus official. ZEC is not able to review its own decisions, but someone, in fact an independent institution, which is the court, can then set aside the decision it makes. Once someone is declared a winner, it is not ZEC again, we should say, or else you are accused now ZEC again of tampering with its own processes or changing results in favor of. So we leave that for independent institution, which are the courts. In that particular case which we are referring to, ZEC actually filed an affidavit in support of the candidate that in fact which was actually stating the correct facts that indeed we had made an error. And for your own information, it was like in a football match where a penalty is granted and the referee, and there is no goalkeeper, and the referee gives a penalty and that person misses. That particular case, I think if you really look at it, there was a technical issue that the procedure that was followed there was not in accordance with the law. That's why he lost. It's not ZEC's problem. ZEC actually filed an affidavit that was stating the correct facts. So I think you should absolve ZEC on that one, because ZEC really did its part, but it was the candidate and this lawyer who did not then follow the required procedure in the court, which resulted in his petition being set aside.
Next. Yes.
Thank you very much. Concerning Madam CEO, I challenge you as your current department. Let's name one person who confided in ZEC that they fear their voters, because it would be unfair for Zimbabweans to be told that their politicians lie. In ZEC, it is in a bracket to say some politicians lie. And you can't name one person. For instance, you can name and say, I'm not going to it's allowed the politician. So I challenge you to name one person who confided in ZEC and said that as ZEC as a politician can't tell us the truth because we fear that we are not voters. Number two, on the issue of airports and high fields, where police are putting into two different groups. Tell us, what is your role as ZEC in institution whereby there is a different application of the law to different law parties? What's your clients? How do you handle them? How do you bring in fairness as ZEC? These are pre, during, and post. What is your role in that? Then lastly, more importantly, you have brought down the issue of registration. Would you mind, or would you take us in confidence? How are you treating prisoners, detainees? What does the law say? Are you also looking at them to be voters?
Okay, you as a reporter, you are challenging me to give you where the source of my information. I'm also challenging you as a journalist to give us the source of information where you get, where you write about ZEC without consulting us. Because there are many times when you write about us, but you don't even consult us. And secondly, I will not disclose the source, but it did happen. But I will not disclose the source. Then again, the issue of police is still coming up. I think my colleague will again talk about the law. But all I want to say is that when we run elections, we are all part and parcel of the electoral process. It's not just about ZEC. It's about how the people in Zimbabwe act when we have elections. All the institutions, elections are not a ZEC issue, but a national issue. And so we are all accountable to the way the elections are run in this country. And then the issue of prisoners, whether they'll be able to vote or not, again, it's an issue of the policies of the country. If the reforms are there, that the prisoners now can vote, then they'll be able to vote. Because, like we have said, that we use the Constitution and the Electoral Act. So those two guide us on how we run elections.
Yes.
Can I just have Mr. Shitakusa answer this? Then you take the last two questions. Mr. Shitakusa came.
Probably on the issue of the police, what ZEC does is that it receives complaints. If any aggrieved political party or candidate has the right to, in terms of the Constitution, he has the right, he or she has the right to write to the Commission or to come physically to the Commission to make a complaint. Because that's the only way ZEC can know of their complaint. So, if someone comes and complains here, and we actually see that it is something that is worth following up and concerns infringement of their rights, it means ZEC has to take action. We also, we have cases before where we have actually referred issues to the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission, for example. If there is a human rights complaint that someone is infringed or this party is what we actually divert to, in fact, we actually direct to the correct authority. Even the police, where there are issues of violence and so forth, ZEC does not have investigation powers. It does not have, we are not experts in investigating criminal issues. So what we do is we channel all the complaints to the rightful authority for them to investigate. And after that, then we then write back to the complainant to say that this is the feedback we have got. And if there is any action they are supposed to take, we actually then advise. Then issue of prisoners. Currently, remember, our law at the moment, in fact, our electoral law, voting is polling station based, and prisons do not have residential addresses at the moment. But it is something that can be addressed by Zimbabwe Parliament to see how they can deal with that current problem. But as ZEC were unable to implement that simply because prisons are cantonment areas and there are no residential, prisoners are not given a residential place as I think you understand what I mean. It's not a residential, they cannot give us proof of residence to say that I stayed in Gobi maximum prison, you see. So until the law changes in that area, we are unable to implement that. So there is a need for reform for us to agree that how do we make prisoners vote. but ZEC is amenable to what the electorate says.
Thank you very much. My name is Dyson Murida with 260 Chat. You provided a link where you said voters can check their registration process. Now, this is based on an assumption that everyone has got access to the internet, which is not so considering rural areas and some other places where they do not have internet access or they cannot afford data for the internet. How are you as ZEC going to address this kind of technological divide so that people can check their registration status and are not disappointed on the day of voting?
I have a follow-up. I have a follow-up on the last issue that was attended to, if you may allow me. Okay. Effort Secure SABC News. My follow-up has to do with this issue of you saying that it is upon the aggrieved parties to come and make a complaint to ZEC. But in your presentation, Madam CEO, you said that you as ZEC actually instruct state, those within the state apparatus, they follow your instruction. So are you then saying that this pronouncement by police, where it gives two different reasons, you have no authority or power to actually instruct police? Because I thought you said you have the authority to instruct the police to maybe create a level playing field or to work under your specified terms. So in this place, we're actually seeing police issuing contrary statements or issuing contrary instructions, yet they are supposed to be working through instructions from Zimbabwe Electoral Commission.
Okay, the issue of internet access that we've asked, usually when we have general elections, we also get the telephone numbers from our voters, and we usually send out messages to all those with telephone access. But we are aware of all the different needs that we have in terms of the electorate that we have. Some will be able to access the internet, some will not be able to access. They can physically come and check their registration at our offices. They will be open, and others can also use the call centers. So we try and use different platforms so that we reach all our electorate. Again, I refer to Mr. Sijakuta on the issue of the police.
The issue of the police. I'm sure the constitutional provision which requires us to instruct persons in the employment of the state do not necessarily mean that we have the power to instruct willy-nilly any authority, but we are saying we can instruct on issues that are affecting our mandate, so that they help us to ensure that there is a free, fair, transparent, and efficient process. It's not like we have the powers just to go to the police and say, no. And also, remember, we have to receive formal complaints. We just don't act from what is reported in the media without actually receiving a complaint. That would not be a proper thing. Thank you.
Supplementary, Madam Chair.
Unfortunately,
maybe supplementary to what the other journalists have asked, because I was raising up my hand, I couldn't get the time. It looks like my name is
the question and answer session has been closed. Sorry about it.
We still haven't asked, we have a few questions just so if we may be allowed. My hand has been up since the beginning. If we may be allowed.
what happens is if I give the other two, then the other two others
Mine is supplementary to what is already done.
No, but you invited us here for a press conference. We've got questions to you. Can you please attend to us, because you actually invited us here. We've got questions to you as the commission.
Can I go ahead, Madam?
Let's just have 3 questions.
Yes.
3 questions, with your permission.
Okay.
So it's you, Rusito.
Gender.
Okay, and then you.
Too late.
Okay, so that's it. Thank you.
Yes, my name is mine is supplementary to the question that looks burning about the police. I don't know, amongst your responsibilities, is it also your responsibility to ensure that political parties in terms of rallies are treated the same? That's the first part of my question. And the other one is, why do you not have clear-cut conditions that apply to all political parties that want to hold their rallies, so that people don't have to come back to you and complain after the rally? As it is, somebody is referring to a rally in Highfield, the other one in Epworth. The people who are going to have their rally in Highfield cannot come and complain because there has not been any mishaps. So why do we not have, or ZEC not have, clear-cut conditions that apply to political parties in times of rallies when the time comes?
And then the next one was Rusito.
Yes. It's going to be a mix of follow-up and other issues. You seem to be in contradiction when you say that you are not going to be attending to any issues that have not been formally reported to you as ZEC, but we are here. You are responding to certain issues about what's happening on the social media. There is no any formal report as far as this issue is concerned. But when there are certain pertinent issues that are actually happening, you say there is no formal report. Do you only have a formal report as and when you wish to report to matters? Because surely you are responding right now to issues that are going on the social media, but there's not been any formal report that has been done to you. Why are we not getting the same response to you as far as issues of the many other issues we've been raising here that you allege that have not been reported to you? The second question that I'm going to be asking to you, sir, is ZEC, one of your mandates is to make sure that you register all Zimbabweans. That's a constitutional obligation you've got here. We have many millions of first-time voters. We have failed to register to vote because they do not have access to national ID cards. I know this falls under a different ministry altogether, but we have not heard ZEC saying anything about making sure that you help and facilitate to make sure that first-time voters here in Zimbabwe have got access to actually vote. Where is your position and your statement as far as this case is concerned for first-time voters? Quickly, my third question is also, you have said that the platform that is doing rounds, you have distanced yourself from the platform, but you have not distanced yourself from the content of it. Therefore, the content may have been taken from ZEC and surely posted anywhere else. What you have simply told us is that the content, the platforms that are doing rounds are not official ZEC platforms. Agreed. Do you also deny the official information that is on the same platforms? Because surely anyone can copy and paste information from any platform. What is your position about the content, not the source of the information? Maybe my last question is the issue of many people who are voting around. You've got a situation in Glenview where more than 20 people are using the same address to register. Surely there is no houses in Glenview that are accommodating more than 20 people. I'll actually cite an example so that you respond to this issue. There's an issue of one Mr. Chisho who is also ran under the ZANU-PF primary in Glenview. His house is 33 people as far as this voter registration VRI is proving to us. How do we have 33 people registered under one house in this particular issue? And then we also have many people that moved from Zimba East constituency. They are now registered in Glenview South. What is your response towards this issue and what has been done officially to make sure that these people have moved? I think those are my quick questions. Thank you.
Mine is just brief. I just wanted to know whether ZEC has been helped because we are now finding some of the information in other platforms such as 111. Has it been helped, and how best are you protecting your information so that it cannot be found everywhere to avoid distortion?
Thank you.
Thank you for the questions that we have fired. Okay, political parties that are treated differently I just want to say that there's a code of conduct for political parties that is provided for. It's a legal document. And then the issue of access to IDs. You are aware that ZEC wanted to carry out the registration of voters last year in December, and you came through, and the chair also advised you that we are postponing that because we want the electorate to get their IDs. And we did then move the voter registration to February, where we are now having the voter registration on the ground at this specific time. We are also going to have the second phase. We have also been engaging the Office of the Registrar General, who are responsible for ID issuance. And they have looked at our concerns and have promised that in the near future they will be out there giving IDs. And then the issue of the number of persons in a place, like he said that there are 30 people wherever he is sick. That's why we are saying that as ZEC, if there are issues like that, we need the voters to come, or you bring us the information to tell us that you are objecting to that issue. So it's important that we bring out such issues. And then the other issue again about hacking. I think when we started, we advised that at the moment the only persons that we have given our voters roll is the political parties, and we've also given the voters roll to CSOs. But I'm not in a position to advise what they are doing with that voters roll at the moment, because it is a public document. That's why we are categorically refusing and telling you that our voters roll, you can access it on our website. If you access the voters roll and then you use it for something else which is over and above what it's supposed to be used for, we have to investigate about such issues. Okay, I'll ask again my colleagues to assist.
Probably I'll leave the voter registration issues to my colleagues there. I think they are the gurus on that. But I wanted to respond to the issue of rallies. The Electoral Act, Chapter 230, has a code of conduct which should be followed by all political parties and stakeholders. These stakeholders also include the police and so forth. Unfortunately, the gentleman is not in who asked the question. But what I wanted just to let you know is that there is a code of conduct in the electoral law that governs the conduct of stakeholders during an election period. So you find that if there is a breach of the code, there are criminal sanctions to that. And if a party fails to follow the said code, there are consequences to that. So in this particular instance, what I wanted to say is that it's the country that has a situation to govern the conduct of stakeholders during an election period through the provision of this code of conduct, which is in the electoral. It's law in Zimbabwe. So if you go and look in the Electoral Act, you find that there is a way parties are expected to conduct themselves during elections. So there is something that governs the conduct of stakeholders during an election. As I was talking about the voters, we said I don't see Rutsito again. Or he said I contradicted myself. No, I didn't. The Constitution actually says the public and stakeholders can bring complaints. If you go to section 239 K, it's a formal process that because we cannot really just go out there and act. I think that is not organized. Something has to be put on record, and as I was saying, also work with other organizations. There are certain things that we can't do ourselves, so we actually refer them to and tell them that we've received this complaint. Please, can you investigate this issue? So the issue of bringing formal complaints is actually noble, and it doesn't really mean writing only. As I told you, we have multi-party liaison committees. Parties actually come here and they decide the agenda, the issues to put on the agenda to discuss. So they can also discuss issues informally, and some issues are not even taken to court, but they are resolved there and there without even haggling, you see. So it's not, I was not contradicting myself, but at least we expect, as an institution, we expect to receive formal complaints in order for us also to invoke the machinery that solves those problems. Thank you. I think I leave the issue of access to national identity cards and so forth to registration issues.
Thank you very much. I think on the national IDs, something's being done. Efforts have been made to try and ensure that we work together between ZEC and RG. But what we should take note of is that we don't have maybe direct influence to say, can you do this, as if we are now giving them a direction. What we only do is maybe to say, as we are in the field, these are the challenges we are facing, and something is being done towards that, because we are having those reports on each and every day. And then on the issue of maybe having 20, 30 people being registered, here in the Act, it only refers to say if a person comes in with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things, then you have to register that person. It is now upon to the citizens, and we have been saying this through our voter registration, that if you feel that this person does not stay in that place, then you should come and object. But for us to say, someone has brought in the ID, he has brought in the proof of residence and everything, and you say, we are not going to register because we've registered maybe 4 or 5 people. And I don't think it would be fair to that person.
But do you agree that there are houses that are registering more than 30 people? That's the question. According to your role, do you have more than 30 people registered at one house?
This is why I'm saying that maybe if a person comes in, whether they are 100 or whatever, our kids, they are not online. Maybe one registers here and goes to the other kit and goes to the other kit and so forth. It is only maybe when we then come to do the deduplication process. But again, the deduplication process, if that person is not registering for the second time, he might sail through. As I am saying, maybe some of these issues we are raising, we hear them. Sometimes even if you see them, we don't have any powers to say we don't want so many people to be there. But otherwise, I would like to urge you as our machinery to also approach those who make laws, because we are only the referees. All I would need is to follow what is in this
sorry,
letter.
Ma'am, to cut you off. That's not the question. The question that I'm asking you is, you obviously do your audit. Do you as ZEC agree and accept the fact that there are more than 30 people registered at a single house? Yes or no? According to your audit, do you have certain houses that are hosting more than 20 people? That's my question. I'm not asking of a legislative issue. I'm asking of an issue that happened during legislation and after. Do you have such a situation?
Okay, I'll answer that with a yes. I'll give you an example of a place that I know where there are more than 35, that I can really speak of confidence. Ukaenda panzira pasaida pauchenda neroad paseke. Yes, you find that that shrine is gotten a lot of persons who are using that address. But for this particular one that we have raised, would have to go and have a look at the voters' roll. But if we are aggrieved, that's where we are saying, you can say, no, there can't be this 33% in this household, and you know that these people don't stay there. You are free to do that as a citizen of Zimbabwe. And if there are people who are aggrieved by that, they are also free to bring such issues. But for ZEC to say because they are 100% registered here, so there's something wrong, it becomes a challenge, because we can even register somebody who lives on the street, as long as they bring the affidavit and say, I live at the corner of Roton Row and Roton Row and Jason Mall. As long as they bring their proof of residence and they say that is where they live, it's up to you now to say this person is lying. There's nobody who lives there, but this person might be a street kid or something. So for us to say, to have this debate, we'll have it until the cows come home. But the issue is, if we are aggrieved that there are 33% at the house number that you have said in Glenview, let's write about it, so that an investigation can be made to say, why are you so many at this household? I think as we agreed that we'll take these questions, these were the last questions that we had. I thank you so much.
Tatambura kwa visuals mutikati Roma applies next time because mama kashiba makamera.
Okay. Thank you.
Right, and
okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much for coming. I think there is something for you to eat. Mazunya kuwande. I